listening to the Forbes Factor. To call in with a question or comment, please call 1-866-472-5788. That's 1-866-472-5788. Or send an email to Forbes@ForbesRiley.com. Now, back to the show. Here's Forbes Riley.
Hey guys, welcome back to the second half of the Forbes Factor here in a beautiful sunny day here as I'm broadcasting live from Baja, Mexico. Just absolutely enjoying life, although if you listen to the very first part of my broadcast, I was a little cranky. And you know what makes me cranky? Bad salespeople, bad sales processes, things that I don't want. I don't know how to explain this. And I'm a big fan, and write this down and stick it on your refrigerator. You get what you tolerate, okay? For many years, I allowed myself to be pushed around because I thought other people had better intentions or they were smarter. I don't know what the heck I thought. All I know is listen to your gut and you get what you tolerate. So that's all I want to say about that. All right, I'm going to go back to my guest. She's a pretty badass chick. Her name is Amy Lacey, and she is responsible for Cauliflower. Come on back up here and show me some love. You moved down. I know, right?
It's so funny. I love it though. It's so true. It's true. You get what you tolerate.
You know what? Yeah. As a woman, I grew up as a very ugly, awkward little girl. I had a badly broken nose and braces for 8 years and frizzy hair, and I was really oddly smart. So I saw things, observed things, but had no impact and was not taken seriously for a very long time. And as I've gotten into certain decades of my life, I've gotten way more powerful and way more cranky. And I remember that, I think I got that gift from my grandmother, who at 90, she passed away at 96. I didn't meet this woman because she didn't like my mother. She was my dad's mom. I met her at 92. That's way too long to hold a grudge against one of your only 3 grandchildren. Wow. But she was cranky. She grew up very wealthy and she buried 2 husbands, and I don't know what her problem was, but she had an attitude. And I remember thinking, she had no editorial sense, by the way. My other cousin was dating a woman who was rather overweight, and she literally looked at her and just called her fat, or just something so inappropriate. And I thought, man, you have no editorial skills whatsoever. You don't care what anyone thinks. When you're in your 20s, you care what everyone thinks. I'm somewhere in the middle. I was like,
me too.
Right. And the more that you move towards the upper decade, you just don't care because you realize how much longer you're going to be here and who cares? So if you can impart this in young people to stop worrying about what everyone else thinks about them, they will have a much more enjoyable life. Because the truth is, most people are not thinking about us at all.
Right.
And if they take the time to criticize us, at least they are thinking about us.
So true. Good point. Really good point.
How old are your kids, Amy?
Yes. So I have a 21-year-old son, a 20-year-old daughter, and a 16-year-old son. And I definitely try to tell them all the time. My 21-year-old, pretty much, he's good. But my 20-year-old daughter and my 16-year-old definitely still care about what people think about them. And, I think it's important to care, but not let it rule you.
Are any of your kids in your business?
They all were in the cauliflower business. Caroline, my daughter, they all have helped me with both businesses. All of them, actually. When they were little, they were very involved in cauliflower just because it was growing so fast. But they've always been my testers for innovation. And Caroline is now a model. She's 6'1", but she's done some of our PR and some of our promotional.
As a woman, my daughter who's 5'9" would have loved. That's what she wanted. Her dad is 6'6", and all she wanted was to cross over that 6-foot mark.
Oh, and Caroline's always telling people, because in the modeling industry, it's fine when she's walking like she walked Paris Fashion Show and New York and LA and Miami. That's fine. Tall is good sometimes, but she's always saying, Mom, I want to be just shy of 6 feet. But when she played basketball, she was 6'2", and she's actually in the middle. She's a little over 6'1".
Funny. Wow. Well, congratulations.
My husband's 6'6" too.
My ex's, my 6'2" husband now is a professional bodybuilder, and I like the shoulders wider and the height a little less. I can't believe I'm saying this on national television. It's about to bite me in the butt. All right, let's talk about your second business. So first of all, did you plan to sell cauliflower?
No, there was a massive fire that happened in Northern California called the Camp Fire. It was the largest fire that happened. It burned down an entire town called Paradise. And that happened to be where my mom, my stepdad, and my aunt lived. And all of a sudden they were all in the house with me. The problem is their house didn't burn down, but it was they couldn't live in it because there was no running water or electricity, but there was also no insurance payment. So they needed a place to live. And I saw that as a sign. I had been getting some offers, some people really interested in buying the business or investing in the business. So I started the due diligence process and started the exit plan and getting a deck together once that fire hit. And so that fire hit in November of 2018. And by April of 2019, some venture capitalists out of Boulder, Colorado purchased the majority of the business. And by 2022, I was completely out of it. And March of 2020, I was mostly out of it.
Were you
Um,
okay with that, letting it go? Because one of the problems that I've discovered is I am, by nature of my mom, who is a Ukrainian descendant of the Depression, who was an absolute hoarder, I'm a little bit of a hoarder. Like
I
I
am
hoard,
too. I am too.
like I have clothes from high school, and luckily they still fit. And my logic behind that is a very sound logic. I don't, I'm not packed with boxes, but I kept some of the things because I'm thinking you're never going to find these things again. They're so unique. You bought them in some boutique somewhere. If you get rid of them, you're going to be sad. And every once in a while, I do get rid of them. And go, where is that pair of cheetah boots? Oh yeah, I gave it away because I thought they were weird. Now I want them back.
Yeah,
The
that
same thing
happens
with
a
my
lot.
business because I started a fitness business. I don't know if you've seen this, but I have a fitness business based around a product here that is now 14 years old. We did very well our first couple of years. We were on home shopping. I've done $1 million days. And then when COVID hit, I just opted not to manufacture in China anymore. I owned it with my ex-husband. So I pretty much just shut it down, didn't sell it, didn't, and I always thought it's not, the run of it is not over. And I could be delusional. That I could then revamp it because I opened a second business. So that's why I asked you about, I'm very proud of you for selling it and doing well, I'm sure, but you shook your head no. What was the problem?
The problem is I had all my identity wrapped up in that business and I didn't even realize it. So we moved to Florida cross country. The venture capitalists fired my team and they were very bitter and very hurt. So these friends and family members that I hired were not speaking to me at the time. They were
Okay, so
very
stop right
upset.
there. Can I ask you a question that sounds very Pretty Womanish? Why would a venture capitalist, in your idea, and this is great for everyone listening,
Mhm.
come into a business that's working that they think they want to invest in, they think is going to be profitable, and fire the people who are making it happen? What was the logic behind that?
I don't know. We were an e-commerce business. They didn't have e-commerce experience. They had grocery experience. We had just landed a major contract with 2 grocery stores, and I think they wanted to change the foundation of the company, and it didn't work. And so, yes, they pretty much stopped the momentum to build this foundation for grocery, which I get because a major exit where a Nestle or something like that comes in um, requires hefty grocery and, I didn't have that experience. So while I was able to get those contracts, they were going to come in and manage those. But they did, they brought in their team, fired my team. I moved to Florida and then COVID hit. I lost my identity. This business, I didn't realize how much of a part of me and my identity it was. I literally was wallowed up in anger towards them for changing the business, for changing the recipe, for firing the team. I didn't know anyone. I couldn't meet anyone because of COVID, even though Florida was a lot looser than California. So I got really depressed again. It was like a full circle moment for me. And I had to go through this whole, I ended up in counseling, to be honest with you. And I had to learn how forgiveness also for some childhood things that happened to me, because I think they reared their ugly head when the venture capitalists rejected me. It felt like all of a sudden I was dealing with the dad that rejected me, the parents that rejected me. So,
Let me ask you a question.
yeah,
Now that you're where you are, having gone through all of that,
yeah.
what counseling would you advise some young Amy who's like, oh, they want to buy the company? What would you done differently?
Oh, I would have done so many things differently. First of all, I mourn the loss of it like a death because I've experienced death in my close-knit family. So I would have gone to some kind of grief counseling. I would have definitely done my due diligence a little bit more on venture capitalists because you hear about that a lot.
Right.
And in 2019, there isn't a lot of women exiting the food industry. So I feel like looking back, I left a lot of money on the table because I was a female. I believe that. And that's a whole nother episode we could go into. But I had to forgive the venture capitalists and see what the opportunity that they gave me, because they gave me a huge opportunity, but I didn't see it that way because I was so tied up in the business, and I was tied up in titles. I was tied up in being the CEO, and that I was able to build this business, and I felt like I knew everything. So I had to take a step back, swallow my ego. I would have done a lot more due diligence prior to that. I would have gone into counseling knowing that my identity was going to change. As soon as I did all this work in counseling around forgiveness for myself, forgiveness for my childhood, forgiveness to the venture capitalists, as soon as I did all that forgiveness work, the anger was lifted. And I believe that's what's allowed me to move forward with a new business. I had to get rid of that first.
Well, okay, so I appreciate that you would have done it differently afterwards, but I'm literally looking, and I'm now going to ask very detailed because we all start a company because we love it. And I
Yeah.
remember being so hurt by the notion of people saying, oh, it's just business. And I remember thinking, it's not, it's never just business. Somebody always starts a business because of some personal passion.
Yep.
And I get the phrase, but I don't care about the phrase because I think it's always personal. Now, I could be wrong. I'm not a billionaire, though I've sold $1 billion worth of product. So I have a product that I have a great sense of responsibility for, and I love it, and it's my baby, and no one else can say it's ever going to be their baby. But if I go to sell it to a venture capitalist, it's not mine anymore. Is that correct?
That's correct.
What would you advise someone like me who's the CEO of a company? Let's assume it's at an exit state, it's doing well, sales are great. What would you have done differently? What would you tell me to do?
So like I said, I would do my due diligence more. I would definitely have interviewed more people. I looked for the person that was experienced in the areas where I wasn't, which seems to make sense.
Right?
But I had a better offer by an e-commerce brand, actually the main investor in Chewy.com. I had a better offer with them. And I think looking back, I probably would have went with them because we would have been aligned and we would have figured out the grocery piece together while still maintaining the momentum of the e-commerce brand that we built. We built it on e-commerce, we built it on customer service and the customer experience. Sometimes, and not always, I think venture capitalists look at just the margins and the bottom line, and customers go out the window. And that's kind of how I felt about this particular situation. So I definitely, I went into it thinking, okay, I've got this deck, I've hired this investment firm to help me with this investor deck. I went into it as though they were interviewing me and I had to impress them. I needed to be interviewing them. They needed to impress me. I needed to go in there as a little bit more confident. I didn't realize until later that I was in the top 4% of women building a food brand like this, that I had built this 8-figure business and that really it deserved a valuation of a 9-figure valuation. And I believe it was cut back because a few things. One, the ingredients in the title. You don't want to surround yourself with a single ingredient. And two, I do believe being a female back then, we have people like Madeline from Nut Pods who exited and she did phenomenal. And I love that brand. And I can remember talking to her at many food shows, but I believe I went in there as though they were interviewing me instead of me interviewing them. And that was a big mistake. And I also chased the money, and you should never chase the money. And I remember we were trying to close by April 30th by midnight, and I was in California, and my lawyers and everybody was on the East Coast, except for the venture capitalists. They were in Mountain Time. And I remember the gut feeling this isn't the right thing to do. And I didn't follow my gut. I followed the money. And I told my husband, I don't think I should sign this. We're doing so well. We have EBITDA. I think we need more time. And he's like, no, Amy, sign it. And my partners, my friends were like, sign it. And they had the champagne there to celebrate. But I left a lot on the table and I never realized how much I would mourn the loss of it.
Yeah. I know. I lost my skincare company to two very evil partners who thought that they should do this without me, although it had my name on it. So I understand. I carried a grudge for a very long time.
Yeah. Well, that eats you up. I know. Yeah. It eats you up, and it can stunt your growth in other areas, I believe. But one of the advice I would also do or give to the audience is, if you've experienced any kind of trauma, to get help, go into trauma therapy. I did EMDR, because otherwise it's going to manifest itself in some kind of illness. And I believe that's why I have lupus and Sjogren's, because I never dealt with my childhood trauma. I buried it. I was shameful of it. I only dealt with it once I had some success and I felt like I could be respected for that success, that I could actually come out and share what happened to me and get rid of the shame. And I had studied Brene Brown and all of those, but I still carried a lot of shame. But I believe that unresolved trauma manifested in illness in my body. So I would definitely get help on that.
You know, I am revealing what happened, that during my weight loss journey of this last 99 days, I had a revelation that something had happened. I knew I had been sexually traumatized, but I didn't quite realize to what extent. And I had a vision literally in the gym on day 67 that had me shaking in the corner and throwing up. And I had a memory that I had not seen in 49 years come rear its ugly head. And I wasn't sure what I was looking at first. I thought it was a movie or something I'd seen. And then I realized it was something I'd never talked about to anyone at 15.
Wow.
So yeah, that was, I think I stored it right back here. I had a big knot of fat. And when that left, it took the memories just all came flooding in. I was like, I don't know. And then I had people saying to me, oh, memories are not stored in your body. I'm like, you can say whatever you want. I was in the corner shaking, having visions. So thank you very much for sharing. I'm going to go with my own truth.
Yeah. Well, a similar thing happened to me at the age of 12, and I put myself in that position, which I didn't realize, obviously, I put myself in that position. So I carried that for a long time until I got sick. And one of the doctors said, have you ever experienced trauma? And I said, I have. And they said, this is why you have all this inflammation. You have to deal with it.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend, we've all had some kind of trauma. We all have inflammation in our bodies at some level, but to deal with it, along with dealing with forgiveness and forgiving myself, has opened the doors. And I have shed inflammation and weight on my body that I think I was holding for years because of
Join the
it.
club, sister. It left. It literally just melted off when that left, and you have the sense of you feel lighter. Talk to me about your second business. I see it in the back there. What is? Tell me about it.
So it's called Be Me Beyond Medicine, and we're currently launching soursop products. And what happened was, shortly after we moved to Florida, my mom was diagnosed with cancer, and so was my esthetician that was the right-hand person of Cauliflower, was diagnosed with cancer. So I went on a cancer research, and I met a lady whose daughter had cancer, and soursop, the fruit soursop, helped her daughter tremendously. So of course, when you have a loved one, you do anything you can. So we were trying soursop. In the meantime, I was eating a lot of soursop when I could get it. It's like $30 a piece of fruit. It's actually even more than that now. It's like $15.99 a pound. It's hard to get. And I saw my inflammation levels drop. I saw a lot of, like, I was pre-diabetic at the time. My blood sugars were being controlled. And so I started playing around with the product. I saw how it helped my mom. And I was like, okay, this has to be out in the world. And I've learned so much about how to launch a business, in particular e-commerce, and then going into retail, that I think I can do this if I find the right innovation team, the right scientist, the right co-packer. That was key, because those were a lot of things that I struggled with cauliflower. So I took all the mistakes and the failures and basically launched this new product because I think the world needs it. And for the price of one fruit, you can have a month's supply. And it's just, we're learning so much about it.
I've never heard of this fruit. I'm pretty savvy when it comes to fruit. I lived on an all fruit diet. What exactly are we talking about?
So it's a pretty ugly fruit, which is
I'm
ugly
looking at
like
it right now. Go ahead.
it has all kinds of different names. It's grown in the Caribbean mainly. I've found it in Seychelles, an island off of South Africa. It is an ugly, prickly fruit. I mean, cauliflower is ugly too, and it was like the last veggie standing on a veggie tray at a party. So I guess I like to take ugly things and make them beautiful. The fruit has been around for years, and many there's a lot of like elderly people that used it in the Caribbean for various things, anything from increased sperm production to nursing moms.
I'm looking at it right here. I looked it up and it says it helps relieve digestive ailments, pain, hypertension, inflammation, fever, cough, asthma, and many other conditions. Is it only in these? It's why, wait, it's illegal in California though. What's
It is
that?
not. It is not. There's a lot of, because it's starting to become very popular, a lot of people are talking about how it's illegal in the United States. It is not illegal. It's just not grown here. It's the amount of benefits that it has makes me think, I mean, this could be a whole nother subject that we talk about, but I believe Western medicine wants to keep you sick. And I'm married to a doctor that treats with Western medicine. So we often battle holistic versus Western. But I believe that every drug has a side effect. This is more of a natural, holistic way, and it does a lot of things. And I can't promote it for everything that it does because I'll get shut down. But I know from personal experience how much it's helped my family, how much it's helped friends. And then we created the product. We launched a soft launch to see how people, if they were receptive to it. I will tell you that there is a study that was done in 2014 on mice, and you would have to consume a huge amount of soursop every single day to have any kind of negative effect of it.
Sorry, what does it taste like?
So to me, it tastes like a combo of pineapple and strawberry. And you want it to be very ripe, and you do not want to eat the seeds. They're toxic. So no eating the seeds.
Glad you said that.
Yeah, they're toxic. The fruit itself, at first I wasn't sure about the consistency, but making it into a smoothie it's just been amazing. It literally, I believe, is God's fruit, a miracle fruit. I think it's a superfood like no other. And I can't wait for the clinical trial that we're doing to come out with the results. We're coming out with a skincare line. Right now we have gummies and shakes. With the gummies, we put elderberry and echinacea in there. So it's very calming. It's great for anxiety. It's great for gut health. The shakes have other benefits added to them like turmeric, magnesium. So just a powerful, we call the shake a booster because I'm not much into putting powder into water and drinking it. I don't do shakes like that. So I will put it in some Greek yogurt, or I'll make a smoothie. We've made pumpkin soup out of it. We've made muffins out of it. I call it a boost. We know that heat does not change it. And for the price of one piece of fruit, you can get 30 days benefit from it. But it's just,
I'm very excited. We have 2 minutes. You and I had such a great conversation. We have 2 minutes left.
Yes.
So how do we find Amy Lacey?
So I manage my own Instagram on Hey Amy Lacey. So I couldn't get my name. It was already taken. So Hey Amy Lacey. I wrote a cookbook, and the publisher's like, you've got to get on Instagram. So I joined Instagram, and it was a cauliflower cookbook in 2019. So I had to buy the Hey Amy Lacey, and I answer all my own DMs. If you DM me, I'm happy to send you some free samples of soursop to try.
Oh, well, we have to do that. I'm DMing you right now.
Okay. Well, any of your audience wants to DM me, I will reach back to them. They can send me their address, and I will be happy to send out some samples of soursop for them to try, and they should see results immediately, actually.
Wow. Well, it's for sale here in Mexico, so I may have to go try it.
Go get some and make a smoothie out of it. It's amazing.
Now,
just make sure it's soft and it looks really dark green, because then it's ripe.
Okay, and don't eat the seeds. Can I scoop it out and eat it, or it doesn't work that way?
Yeah, scoop it out and eat it. Just don't eat the seeds.
I'm glad, because that would have been toxic. That would have been a really bad message I would send to you. All right, guys, we have 1 minute left. Amy, in 30 seconds, your hope for the future for everybody.
Oh gosh, I hope for everyone a better, healthy world. I think the United States, we're really sick, and I want our food industry to up their game. Right now, the FDA allows 20% variance on labels. So your product that you're looking at could have 20% more sugar in it and not claim it. I want us to get really real on reading labels, but also look at who's behind the products. The big brands.
I love you. We are out of time. I agree with everything that she just said. Coming back as a guest. Maybe we'll cook together. That would be really fun as an episode. You guys, you've been watching the Forbes Factor. Ciao, and I will see you again next time. Thanks for being here. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're awesome.